Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for TWiT specials is provided by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is TWiT Live Special number 256, recorded September 22nd, 2015. TechCrunch Disrupt 2015. This TWiT Live Special is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for the right payments API, check out the Braintree V.0 SDK. With one simple integration, your customers get every way to pay. To learn more and to try out the sandbox, go to braintreepayments.com/twit. In this era of the startup, it can be difficult to find out where companies actually come from. Some are born out of necessity, others come out of convenience, and then there are those few that are born to disrupt. I'm Father Robert Ballecer with TWiT TV here at the edge of San Francisco for TechCrunch Disrupt 2015, the crucible of startups, where some will fade away and others will go on to glory. The Keurig is the staple of offices everywhere. It's a way to get your single serving perfect of coffee every morning. Now, what if I told you that there was a way to get a Keurig, but for food? There is, and this is it. It's called the Cookie from Serenity. It's a robot that takes raw ingredients in 4 food packets and turns it into a finished meal of your choosing. I'm speaking with Timothy Chen from Serenity. Timothy, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Who's going to explain what went into making this food robot. Timothy, what inspired the Cookie?
So this concept actually came from my 2 younger sisters who said, why can't robots make food? So what they did was they took Keurig, they took a spatula, and iTunes, because they said music's exactly like food. You have a score, which is very similar to a recipe. You have someone who plays music, just like someone who cooks food. And if you can press one button to get great music, why can't you do that for food? And a microwave doesn't count because microwaves use harmful rays to heat your food. So we started experimenting, and over a weekend, they took 2 servos and some paint stirrers, and they cooked pasta al dente every time. So that was the inspiration for food. There are 200,000 artists on iTunes and 26 million songs. There are 2 billion chefs in the world, of which 20 million of them cook professionally in kitchens every day. And there are trillions of permutations of food. And we can already cook 60% of the foods that you eat, like soups, salads, pastas, rice, curries, sautés, stews. It could even scrambled eggs.
Take me through the process, because it seems, I mean, I love the idea of a robot making my food, of me not having to microwave my lunch, but actually having something that was prepared for me.
Yes.
But how much diversity can I get from 4 food packets?
Right. So today, we're actually cooking a few things. So we're scrambling eggs for you in the morning. We have a spinach egg scramble, and then we have a lamb sauté here with cauliflower. And then here we have a pan-fried gyozas and finished by a jambalaya. So a lot of tremendous amount of diversity. As I said, 60% of the foods that we eat in the U.S. is actually cooked as a one-pot meal because it's standing over the stove, cooking it, putting it at the right temperature, right food, and in the right order.
If I was an employee and this was in my office, what's the process? What would I do to get the meal that I want?
Right. So to get the meal that you want, you typically reserve it ahead of time, or you can walk up to our fridge and see what's available for lunch today. You take the cartridges, you place it into the device, you slot it directly in here, you take your smart device and you find a recipe on it via an app, and you push it once, and it makes food, and it'll tell you when the food is ready.
Okay, this is the future of food. I'm so happy. I mean, robots, good food, that's pretty much everything we need in the geek culture. Tell me, when can I expect to see this in wide availability, and what would it cost for my office to deploy one?
Yeah. So we're testing in offices right now. Currently, we're giving them out to offices for free because we monetize on the food, not necessarily on the machines. So in the future, we believe that we're going to be out in offices, so we're going to roll out to 10 more offices by the end of the year, and then probably in wide availability by middle of next year to the end of next year.
Hopefully you've whetted the appetite of our audience. If they want to be considered for the next office to have a cookie, where would they go?
So email us, info@serenity.com, that's SERENETI.com, or just find us, Serenity Kitchen, and find us on Twitter, so @Serenity Kitchen, so Serenity like this.
Timothy Chen, CEO of Serenity, thank you very much for talking to us, and good luck here at TechCrunch Disrupt. Green screen capture has been a staple of traditional 2D broadcasting for well over a decade. But what if you could have the exact same effect with the exact same setup, but instead of 2D, you have 3D? That's why we're here at Organic Motion showing what their motion capture platform can do. I'm speaking with Andrew from Organic Motion, who's going to explain why this dev kit is something you may want to pick up. Andrew, where do you see this being used? I mean, it's amazing technology, the ability to generate in real time a 3D model that I could use in broadcasting, but it seems to be a bit of a specialized product.
Well, we're really excited. So we released Reality Capture Live here at the show to really empower traditional media companies to make that jump from 2D film into virtual reality. There's all this excitement with virtual reality. Wouldn't it be cool if you have a reality show and you're trying to drum up some traffic on your website to create some clips with your talent in VR? So, if you're used to doing green screen, well, then just put people in a very similar system, except they're being scanned in full 3D. Have two reality stars have a fight, put that clip online, someone clicks on it, puts on their headset, and now they're standing there with the stars, exploring and understanding spatially, what's going on.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the technology it takes to do this. You have a dev kit that's selling for $9.95 right now, which is amazing. It's 14 HD cameras capturing at 30 frames per second for the digitizer and 90 frames per second for the 3D render. What does that all plug into? What did you have to develop to make that work?
Well, I mean, with the dev kit specifically is there to foster community in the development space right now. I mean, virtual reality is at its infancy, and I think there's been some really good activity by developers. And so we're trying to foster that, get that out there. So 14 cameras, 14 HD cameras is what you need to create this real-time 3D scanner. So with the system, we give you the software. You can set up a room and scan yourself 30 times a second, live video, and then of course that gets broadcast and then rendered at 90 frames a second in virtual reality world, so you don't get dizzy and everything's snappy.
Where would you like to see this technology next year? So let's say that Organic Motion continues to develop this product. You increase the resolution, you increase the frames per second, you get community support so that you get third-party developers working on your product. Where ultimately would you like this to land?
I'd really like to see some live music venues. The idea that you've got a performer on stage in our system singing and live broadcasting into VR so that I can put on my headset and be on stage with the performers at the same time.
Andrew, thank you very much for talking to us. Now, if our audience wanted to find out more about Organic Motion, where could they go?
So it's organicmotion.com/reality capture, and specifically for the dev kit, it's /devkit.
3D printing has taken the world by storm, and Disrupt is no exception to that rule. I'm standing next to Sean Lin from Flux, who's going to show us what the future of 3D printing may look like. Sean, this is a work of art, but it's also not just a 3D printer, it's also a laser engraver and perhaps a milling machine. Tell me a little bit about this.
Okay. What makes this possible is because of this magnetic design, so you can switch between different functions. So it's a laser head, you can use it to do laser engraving. It's also a 3D printer, and it is actually a 3D scanner as well. It's a built-in 3D scanner, like this one. Yeah, so it's all in one, and it will be there will be more and more modular function in the future. Yeah.
This printer has really taken the 3D world by storm because it is so unconventional. We're used to having multi-axis machines with straight arms that are run on stepper motors. You've got this beautiful 3-column design that really allows for more degrees of motion. And not only that, can you show us what it looks like when you swap out the heads? It's just a magnetic system that allows you to pull off the current head, like the 3D printing head or the laser engraving head, or say the CNC head, plug in one connection and be on a different function. Can you go ahead and show that to us?
Just that simple, that you with the magnets and remove the adapter, then can use it to laser head like this one. Yeah, but because it is for printing, so it's a filament. Yeah, so you should remove it. So for the laser function, it doesn't need the filament. You can remove it. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, it's remarkable. It's a great idea to have a multi-function tool that can do all the things that a maker may want to do, from scanning to printing to milling and, of course, engraving. Now, let's get some of the specs down. How big of a print can I make with the Flux?
The max diameter is 17 centimeters, and the height is 22 centimeters. Yeah.
And if they wanted to pick one up, what's the going price right now?
We take pre-orders at $749, and we will start the shipping for the pre-order we take now in January next year. Okay.
Oh, of course, the Flux is going to use standard STL files, so basically if you've been designing 3D objects, this will be able to print it. But I think the bigger question here is, where would you like to see this technology? I'm sure we're going to start to see some copycat designs. It is such a flexible design that, you've got so much that you can build into this. Where would you like to see this be in 1, 2, say 5 years from now?
Okay. We think that it is not a hardware product. It's more like a user experience for makers. So we also develop our own software, and we think that as maybe 2 years, 3 years later, that we have our own platform, then there will be a lot of people passionately 3D printing in technology and creativity. That's what our vision is, our future of Flux is.
Sean, thank you very much for talking to us. Now, if they wanted to pre-order or just find out more information about the Flux, where can they go?
Okay, our website is flux3dp.com.
These days, if you're going to be pushing data up into the cloud, you have to worry about the breach. What happens when inevitably the provider that you trust to take care of your data loses control? Well, here at CloudMask, they've got a solution, which is give them gibberish. I'm speaking with TWiT, who's going to explain what their solution does. TWiT, this is not really encryption. This is a transparent layer of data protection.
Correct. So what we provide our users is ability, they can go and use any cloud vendor just like the way they use today. Now behind the scene, as they're inputting their data into a system, we're swapping their data with something that's totally meaningless. So if I'm using Google or Dropbox, all I see from Google Insider, if I was inspecting even within memory, all I see is data that's useless. It only comes back to its meaningful information when I send it to somebody that I trust, somebody that's actually in my circle of trust, and only then it becomes back to its useful information.
There are a few things I really like about the solution. First, it uses a really, really strong, well, I'm going to call it encryption, you call it substitution, but basically it's unbreakable. There is no algorithm that you can brute force. This substitution is, unless someone has the key, they're not getting in. The second thing is, because you've uploaded gibberish to the cloud provider, and it means nothing except to those that are either you or the people you trust, it means that if that provider does get breached, someone will get data that looks like it's from you, but it is really meaningless. They'll be scratching their heads.
Absolutely. And I think we can't stress enough that just because it's simple to use doesn't mean it's less secure. In fact, it is arguably more secure. So we actually started from a government implementation, and we made it simple enough to scale down even to individual consumers. So now an average user can get the same security and the same strong algorithms that a sophisticated government department actually able to use.
TWiT, now if they wanted to find out more about Cloudware, more about what you do, more about your technology, where can they go?
So I think the best place is to visit our website. We do have a free version you can download, and you can use it today with Gmail and Google Apps. So that's the best way to start, and we're always adding functionality and support to any other application.
We were walking through the halls at TechCrunch Disrupt, and, well, we ran into a familiar face, Miriam Jouar, who's going to explain why email is, well, your father's way of doing engagement. Social media is the annoying way to do it, but sometimes you just need a CleverTap. Miriam, first of all, I like the Nerf guns, but more importantly, you now work with a company that is enabling app developers to do, let's say, better engagement with their clients.
Yes, we do, and I just want to make it clear, the whole military theme is because we're actually the sponsors of the startup battlefield. So we kind of thought, how can we distinguish ourselves a little bit? We're marketers, that's what we do. So CleverTap, I'm the VP of developer relations for CleverTap. Basically, it's a clever way of saying that I do PR for developers. My job here is to, basically get developers involved. And so it's an SDK, CleverTap, that developers can put into their app, mobile app, In the future, probably wearable, VR content, and games. We want to address games in a major way. And that it lets them engage with the customers. So when you're using email to reach out to a customer list, or as you said, social media, it's kind of unoptimal because you're spilling over to people you might not be targeting. With this, you can say, oh, look, I've got some analytics that tell me this person didn't use their app after they set it up because their baby was crying and they dropped the install. And how can I engage with them again? Can I offer them a tutorial video or something? Right? So we do this for free up to 1 million users. So if you're an app developer or a marketer and you want some sort of solution for messaging your customers, getting some analytics on your app, and also, reaching out to potential new customers, you can use CleverTap. And it's free up to 1 million users. So for most startups here at Disrupt who are starting out, that's going to cover their needs. Once you have 1 million login, we charge a nominal fee, but it's not crazy. So basically, we're trying to make it better. We're trying to make it in a data-driven way so that developers don't have to rewrite code and the app can behave differently based on what the customer does. And marketers, if you're a marketer, you get a dashboard on the web that lets you engage with the customer directly without having to bug your developer team every 5 minutes. So that's kind of in a nutshell what CleverTap is about. And the reason I joined, we just launched yesterday and I announced my joining yesterday at Disrupt here, is, we were stealth for a while, and the reason we believe this is really fun, for me, is reconnecting to my developer past. I was in video games for 15 years, but still staying in marketing, which is something that I really love doing now, having worked at Pebble before, and then I love creating content, so I get to create content for CleverTap, like going around filming startups, asking them what they're doing. And I was at Engadget, so that's something I like to do, and of course on TWiT.
Amir, one of the things that I really like about this is the fact that for those people who are looking to develop their own app, the next big app, they're always looking at a way to engage. Then that typically comes slapped on at the end. After they've made the app, after they've got a user base, they're always trying to figure out a better way to communicate without bothering their users. With your solution, with CleverTap, they now have a way to do that from the beginning with an SDK, with an API that lets them develop an engaging app from the start. Now, if they wanted to find out more about CleverTap, if there's an aspiring app developer out there, where can they go right now to find out about you and the services?
It's very easy, just clevertap.com. The word clever, the word tap, tapping on a screen.com. That's as simple as that. Check it out. And it's both if you're a marketer and developer. We have like 2 tracks to kind of tell you what we're doing so that you can relate to it better. If you're a developer, it'll be more technical. If you're a marketer, it'll be more about the actual customer and the engagement part.
Miriam Jawar of the very own TWiT TV Army is here at CleverTap. We ran into her here at TechCrunch Disrupt 2015. She's trying to show us the future of app development, and the future is clever. One of the trends that you're going to find here at TechCrunch Disrupt is finance. At some point, you're going to need to find a way to turn your idea into cold hard cash, which is why we're happy to have Braintree as a sponsor of this TWiT special. Now, what is Braintree? Braintree is mobile payments made easy. Now, in the old way, you'd have to set up a server, create some sort of relationship with a financial payments processor. Well, you can skip all that because Braintree, with their V.0 SDK, gives you an easy way to accept every kind of payment, from PayPal to Venmo to Apple Pay. Braintree has it all. Now, if you want a payments processing solution that takes just 10 lines of code, that supports iOS and Android and JavaScript clients, if you want a payments processor that will protect the identity and the information of your customers, you owe it to yourself to try Braintree. Right now, Braintree gives you an easy way to accept multiple payment types with one 10-line integration. They've got quick, knowledgeable service representatives so that they'll always be able to help you through your integration problems. Now, with that Braintree V.0 SDK, you will get an in-class best way to accept payments. You have to try it now. Check out Braintree today at braintreepayments.com/twit. That's braintreepayments.com/twit. And we thank Braintree for their support of TWiT specials. One of the most important stories at TechCrunch is not necessarily the startups, not necessarily the technology, but the partnerships. The partnerships between companies that are established and companies that are just getting started, which is why we're here at the Trash Amps table along with Intuit to talk a little bit about what those partnerships mean for people looking for passion. Now, Adam, this is a mason jar, but it's also an amp. Tell me, why are people building these at the Intuit table?
I'm really glad that Intuit invited me to come and partner with them today. I'm a user of QuickBooks Online, and it allows me to run my business really efficiently, and I'm really passionate about building portable speakers and showing people that it doesn't have to be a black plastic box for it to play music. It could be really anything, and there's probably a lot of things that we're throwing away that could have a new use if we took the time to think about it.
What I love about this is, this is sort of like, this is recycling. This is the maker spirit. This is take something that we all may have, which are mason jars, a few electronic components, and turn it into something that's interesting, that I could show off, that I could geek out to. What gave you the idea of putting a speaker in a mason jar?
A friend of mine got a kit to turn an Altoids tin into a guitar amplifier in college, and we were all musicians, and after I saw that, I thought, really there's no limit to what you could turn into a speaker, so we started making beer can and soda can speakers, and then continued to look around the house and in the recycling bin to get inspiration for our next ideas. So
now, inspiration is one side, and inspiration gives us things like this, but of course, you need a business partner. That's what turns an inspiration, an idea for a product, into an actual product line, which is why we're speaking with Jeff from Intuit. Jeff, you brought trash amps to the show. Explain, what are you trying to show the attendees?
So at Intuit, we're trying to make doing small business easy. Doing financial accounting, creating invoices, it can be difficult. What we really want to do is put the focus on the small business owner, make all the accounting simple so that they can pursue their passion.
One of the things I find fascinating is there are a lot of startups here that are trying to do financial services. They're trying to let you balance your books, to make sure that you do invoicing, which is something that Intuit's been doing for almost 3 decades now.
That's correct. We've been doing it for 3 decades. We started off on the consumer side, and we've expanded out into the small business side. So a lot of ways that we can help the processes faster and easier. Another one of the products we're talking about today, not only the financial software, but helping small businesses to get loans. QuickBooks Financing is a startup that we constructed within QuickBooks to help make that process faster and easier.
Now let's get down to brass tacks. There will be people like Adam who come up with very zany, crazy, quite possibly disruptive ideas like this. What do they need? What do they need to worry about as they grow their idea into a business?
So financing is one of the important things, staying organized, staying on top of it. Not only pursuing your passion, but making sure you're systematically collecting the data in the back end to make sure you can pay your taxes, to make sure that you can get things such as financing. All of these things, accounting software in the background can help to take care of.
If they wanted to find out more about Intuit, or if they wanted to find out more about trash amps, where can they go?
So you can come directly to our website at intuit.com. Trash amps.
Trash amps is trashamps.com.
TechCrunch Disrupt isn't just a conference of startups, it's also a battlefield. And one of the battlefield contestants is Robo Wunderkind. I'm speaking with Anna from Wunderkind, who's going to explain what the next generation of youngins will be learning their electronics on. Anna, what is this?
So it's Robo Wunderkind, and we call it Lego of 21st century. So we have different cubes with electronics inside, and by snapping the cubes together, kids build a robot, which they can later on program in an app on their smartphones or tablets. And one more thing, it's Lego compatible, so they can put their favorite Lego figures on top of it.
What I love about this is it brings back a lot of nostalgia. This is like the Kinects that I used to play with as a kid, or the Erector set. But this demands that kids understand both the electronics, the mechanics, and also the coding. Now, once they've created their construct, they have a simple programming language that basically allows them to drop blocks of code to do certain functions.
Exactly. So when we started working on the project, we wanted to create a robot which even a 5-year-old child can build and program. And that's why we came up with the cubes, which have electronics inside, and they're perfectly safe on the outside for children. And also the programming interface is super intuitive and understandable. It's visual, so kids even that are not fluent in reading yet can start coding. And for older kids, we integrate with Scratch, which is a programming language developed at MIT.
What are the sensors, the motors, the actuators that they could get?
So here we have motors and microcontroller, Bluetooth module, ultrasonic sensor, and batteries. But in our advanced kits, we also offer a digital camera, an accelerometer, LED display, then also light sensor and meteor sensor. So there is really possibilities are unlimited.
And thank you very much for talking to us. Now, if they wanted to find out more about your product, or if they wanted to jump into your Kickstarter, where can they go?
Exactly. So go to startrobo.com. We just launched our Kickstarter yesterday, and we offer Robo at a very good price for Kickstarter. And please support us on Kickstarter. Let's make Robo happen.
Best of luck in the battlefield. And if you've got a youngin', maybe you can turn him into a Wunderkind. In an age of YouTube, we listen, we watch, and now WeMesh. I'm here with Michael and Saeed from WeMesh, who are going to explain to you why you need their new app, which will allow synchronized playback of media. Michael, what is WeMesh?
Well, WeMesh is the first synchronous multimedia chat client, which means it lets you watch videos together with all your friends or people from around the world in perfect sync, down to the millisecond. And you can do it while you text, so you can say, hello, or you can just talk and say, hello, hey, what's up? And they'll hear you. You can sing along. You can do absolutely anything you'd like.
Now, Saeed, it's interesting tech. I love the idea of being able to have a few friends, up to thousands of friends, watching the exact same video at the exact same time with their experience in perfect sync. But why do we need this? Why are you concerned about syncing up the media experience?
This is the top things people are doing on their phones, watching videos and messaging, and we're putting them together in one great app. There's a reason people go to the movies together. There's a reason go to the sports games together. People like to watch things together, and we're bringing it to the mobile experiences. YouTube has isolated us. We can watch videos, we can message, but we can't do it together. WeMesh completes that loop and lets us do it and experience content and makes it more enjoyable.
Now, on TWiT TV, we actually have an experience with this. We serve our stream out over our content distributor, which works pretty well, but the problem is everyone is receiving at a different lag time. So no one is ever experiencing the same bit of video, the same bit of audio at the exact same time, which makes our feedback, our chat room, kind of lagged out. This would be technology that could solve for that, but where do you see this being used? I know it only works on YouTube right now, but where would you like your app to be in a year from now?
Well, we're absolutely really excited about adding in live streaming content. Additionally, we feel it's a tool. If you want to use it in the same room and hook it up to stereo equipment, it's good enough for that, and it'll make a big surround sound system. If you want to use it with your friend in Japan to watch anime videos, it's good enough for that. It's however you want to use it, and it's just a lot of fun.
Now, Saeed, if they wanted to find out more about your app, about your service, where can they go?
Right now, it's free. It's available on the App Store. It's WeMesh, one word, and it's coming to Android. They can follow us on Twitter at WeMesh. They can find us online at weme.sh.
The Internet of Things and wearable technologies is a hot product category, but what if you could have a wearable that could not just give you data, but could possibly save a life? That's why we're here at Cohero Data. I'm speaking with Melissa and Mike, who are going to tell us about a product that they've come up with that could help 26 million Americans cope with a potentially fatal disease. Melissa, Cohero, you design products that go onto inhalers, and you also have a mobile spirometer so that I can detect and get data points about my breathing throughout the day.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We build two front-end devices. Those are a mobile spirometer to capture lung function, as well as devices that fit on any inhaler configuration, totally universal fit. And what that allows us to do is capture medication adherence as well. And those are two really critical drivers to better outcomes for patients.
Now, if you could go ahead and show us the products, because they actually are quite good. One of the interesting things about this is if you are suffering from asthma, you need to make sure that you get dosed properly. And you also need to make sure that you're measuring your lung function so that you can be diagnosed better at your next checkup. I've also noticed that when we have a longer snapshot of someone's health, we can do a much better job of diagnosing them than if we, say, have one checkup a month.
Absolutely right. So the key really is that ultimately right now patients are asked to come in multiple times a year to be hooked up to a spirometer to capture lung function, and then are asked to self-report based on the time between visits on their health symptoms, triggers, but also medication adherence. So really the key is to provide a better snapshot over time and allow the patient to really live their life and have an incredible on-the-go tool. And so that's really what we built at Cohero Health.
Michael, what are you holding? This also allows a better snapshot. This is an interesting device that lets me get a better picture of my lung function.
So this is our mobile spirometer. We've achieved FDA clearance with a 510K certification, which is now enabling, really for the first time, patients to, at home, monitor the health of their lung. So there's really nothing worse than not being able to breathe, right? And that's what respiratory patients suffer from. So we're bringing these connected models to the patient and allowing them to have that visibility into not only their level of adherence and how they're taking their medication, but also how that medication is working within their body. So we're really empowering those patients through these smart connected tools to really live happier and healthier lives. So the mobile spirometer is really groundbreaking. It's the first of its kind here in the US, and we're really excited to demonstrate its capabilities here at TechCrunch.
Melissa, that's the hardware, which is fascinating as it is, but now take me through the software. What will it look like if I'm tracking my health?
Yeah, so this is it. So this is, let's just show a quick bit of the dashboard of this sort of landing page when you open the app. It's giving a great snapshot into both controller medication, which they're meant to take daily, but also rescue medication to give really better insights, but also for a patient to be able to be reminded and tracked in real time. So we send push notifications, text messages in real time if they've missed a dose. You can also, we're universal fit for both types of medication, rescue and control. So I'll show that here, both pages. And then what I can do also is show you a bit about the spirometry functionality. But before I do that, the neat piece is that a patient can really see their last month's adherence, their last week, and then the landing page of their 2 scheduled doses and whether they've taken it. So it's a really clean design to really engage and empower the patient.
It's absolutely fantastic. Now, Mike, Melissa, if they wanted to find out more about Cohero, where can they go? What do they do? Where do they find you?
Great question. I would say our website is a great place to start, coherohealth.com, and look for us there. TechCrunch did a great piece after our presentation last night, so there's a bit about us and our story there on TechCrunch.com. So I think those are 2 good places to start.
Yeah, at this point, all are welcome to come to the website and sign up to gain early access to our fully connected health platform. 50 million Americans in the U.S. suffer from respiratory, of which 26 million are asthma patients. So it's a huge market and really requires a lot of innovation in this respect. So we're excited to be able to help.
If you've been paying attention to phone news, you know that John Scully has backed a new company bringing phones to, well, the world. I'm here at Obi talking about their new line of phones and what it may bring to the ecosystem of mobile communications. Sajid, this is the Obi. You have 2 different models. Tell me, what's the philosophy? Why do you enter such a crowded market?
We want to bring the best experience from Silicon Valley at affordable price points to all the people in the world. So this is a complete Silicon Valley designed user experience with the finest technologies we've licensed from Qualcomm, from Corning, from Dolby. So the experience is unmatched. So we want to bring the best of our world here to the rest of the world.
Kartik, I understand that, and you know our audience, they're savvy, and they're also a little bit cynical, and they're going to look at this and they're going to say, okay, they look nice. I mean, these are sleek phones, but it is such a crowded market. What can you offer that the other players can't?
high design at well within reach prices. And at the same time, you get specifications that are not there in phones, which are probably 3x or 4x of the prices also. We have the latest Gorilla Glass 4, a Snapdragon 615 processor, Dolby surround sound. So it's an immersive consumer experience. It's a unique UI also. You don't get phones which have the full experience at these price points for consumers across the globe. And I think that's a big point of differentiation for us.
Noel, they've been talking about price points quite a bit, so hit me with the price points. What model is this, by the way?
So that's the SF, and it's at $249, and this is the SJ, and this is at $129. So very competitive, very good price points.
Okay, so yes, you've got the price points, and that actually is pretty amazing for what looks to be a very competent smartphone. But where do you want this to land? I mean, you don't want to end up on the pile of obscure phones who have some value, but people just don't like the specs, or have the specs, but people don't like the price. Where for you is that secret sauce?
It's for people who want the best and at an affordable price point. And if I can also add, this has dual SIMs. So as you travel, you can put a different SIM card, you get a better, so you get value, functionality, but without compromises. So it's not something that you bore off and want to replace right away. It's something you're proud to own.
All right, Kartik, you've got 5 seconds to sell someone on this phone. What would you do to tell them that this is what they want?
It reflects your identity. Own one.
Now, Noel, if they want to find out more about the Obi, about all your smartphones, where can they go?
Just go to the website, Obi Worldphone.
I'm Father Robert Ballecer with a new phone at TechCrunch. This may be your next smartphone. VR is all the rage, but it doesn't do much if you don't got the content, which is why I'm speaking with Michael Mansouri here at VR Live, who's going to explain what this rig can do for content creators. Michael, what is this?
So this is our cinema quality virtual reality 360 rig, which we co-developed with a company called Headcase. It utilizes global shutter cameras, which are gen-lockable. It shoots 12-bit uncompressed RAW. So we're talking true cinema quality cameras. These are not like machine vision cameras. These are actual cinema cameras that were developed in cinema that we're utilizing in virtual reality. So the image quality is going to be similar to what you see with a Red camera or Alexa.
12-bit uncompressed cinema quality, that's a lot of data. How many cameras are here and how much data does that mean?
Yeah, so we don't mess around with data. We pull all the data we need out of the cameras. So that's your negative. So the negative needs to be as rich and saturated with information. So it's 17 cameras, and we're looking at about 11 terabytes an hour. Yeah, it's 11 terabytes an hour of footage. So it's a lot of data, but in the end you can deliver a smaller file format for your web or your television distribution, but you have your negative. And that's just like the old school way of thinking about film. The negative on film is high resolution, and then you can output to a TV set.
Exactly. As long as you capture all that resolution at the beginning, it gives you options versus not having enough and then having to do some trickery with software. One of the things that people have seen over the last year is the emergence of GoPro rigs, which are good, they work, but what's the advantage of going with something like this, raw cinema cameras, rather than an off-the-shelf GoPro?
Well, those are all solutions, and we're all about offering filmmakers solutions. So where this differentiates from a GoPro is the fact that they are all synchronized together. So what you have is a full synchronization and gen lock. GoPros, they're not synchronized, so each cameras are capturing different things. And the fact that these are global shutter cameras means that you're not going to get half scans. So you're going to get the entire picture frame by frame, which is all synchronized between all 17 cameras. The other thing that it helps with is 12-bit RAW. GoPros are 8-bit, and they're highly compressed. With a GoPro's equivalent amount of cameras, you're looking at about 300 gigs. This is 11 terabytes. So it's a lot more detail, it's a lot more clarity, a lot more resolution. But the main important thing for a filmmaker is how does something look close to subject? And if I have a fisheye lens, things will look further away, and they'll look distorted. This is very close to human vision. So it's about 112-degree field of view. So it's very similar to what we see. It's not exaggerated. So people close to us will not have a warped face.
All right, you've got me convinced. This is the approach I want to take, because I don't want people to notice when I pass from one camera to the next, because the syncing is not quite there. Exactly. But I imagine that this is going to have a pretty hefty price tag. If I was looking for a rig like this for my content, what would I be looking at? Okay, so our entire solution, which is our mobility platform, we actually have a robotic system that moves this so you don't have dolly tracks to deal with. For us, the philosophy is cameras should not be a fly in the wall. And that's the way most people have approached and lived with that limitation, is I'm just going to be a fly in the wall and I'm in VR. That's not engaging. To us, what's engaging is movement, action. And so the entire package with our mobility platform monitoring system, it's about $25,000 a day. That's actually a lot less than I thought it was going to be. So quite reasonable. If they want to find more about this or any of the products that you offer here at VR Live, where can they go? Sure. So our Codex headcase rig is available on our website for rental. It's under radiantimages.com. We also have another rig, which is our Mobius rig, which is the world's only POV 360 rig. And what we have done in that world is, this was developed for a feature film that wanted to shoot subjects super close to them. And they didn't want to have that limitation that they have to be 4.5 feet away. So we developed another rig that allows us to shoot subjects as close as possible. But the main important thing is that you get to be that person. You get to be that person's perspective. So when you look down, you see their chest, you see their shoulders, and you have the freedom of movement. You're not just a fly on the wall. You're moving in that scene, which is really good. The other thing I want to add is that with this rigs, we've also incorporated ambisonic sound. So we're capturing three-dimensional sound and binaural audio. We also have an IMU system, which is recording all the metadata for motion and movement, which means that if there's any shakiness in the image, we could isolate and remove it within all 17 cameras. So you don't have to go individually remove noise or vibrations. It's Michael Mansouri with VR Live. If you're a content creator looking for your VR fix, we may have something for you. 3D definitely adds a dimension to your displays, but unless you're using a set of VR goggles or a specialized television, we don't have any real good ways to take that representation back out into the real world. At least we didn't before we came here to Voxon. I'm speaking with Gavin, who's going to explain how they're making this wonderful holographic display. Gavin, what am I looking at?
What you're looking at here is the world's first holographic PC. What we've done is slicing up a model and dividing it into effectively layers, like 3D printing with light. We then project those layers onto a very, very fast screen, and the persistence of vision in your brain fuses those slices together and forms a coherent 3D model.
Now, we've all seen that persistent of vision effect. If you've ever had one of those fans that spins around and spells out a message, it just synchronizes the pulses that it gets so that you get consecutive frames of whatever it's trying to create. Yep. But in your case, we've got incredible detail. You've got a dragon hovering over here, you had a skeleton, and you even had one of my personal favorites, you had a complete room scan that I could take, rotate, increase, decrease. It really changes the way that I look at 3D. Tell me, what are the applications you're hoping to get?
Okay, applications are, it's a good question. Almost any 3D data. We share the same data infrastructure as all the AR, VR, Unity guys. It's all volumetric data, except we are showing all the data at the same time. So rather than presenting you with a view of a scene, we're creating a scene, and as many people who gathered around the display have their own view. So we call it really social gaming, because it's bringing back those old school social values of games that you played as a kid when you're playing Hunger Hippos or Mousetrap. So this is eye-to-eye contact, face-to-face contact, using the same data as everybody else. But the key thing with this is, as you can see, you don't need 3D glasses, and that's a real killer for us, because you can just walk up to it and interact with it and enjoy it with your friends.
Our audience loves specs, so let's talk about specs. What kind of resolution can I get? And how do you measure resolution in a holographic display?
Okay, when you buy a normal television set, you talk about 1080p or 720p. So that's an X and a Y resolution. We're adding a Z resolution, up and down. This particular one is 1000 by 1000 by 200. So you think of it like a fish tank full of data. So in 1 second, you can render, like Minecraft uses voxels, you could render up to 500 million voxels every second. The average image like this dragon here, every frame is around 1 million voxels. We also support color and monochrome. We're working on a plugin for Unity, which will allow you to extract your data in real time using an orthographic camera in the Unity engine. Currently our SDK supports C and C#, and any peripheral you can plug into a PC, Leap Motion, Connect, into a RealSense, emotive headsets. You can use all these to interact with your actual data.
Now, if they wanted to find out more about Voxon, about your holographic displays, where can they go?
www.voxybox.com is our website. It's kind of a placeholder. We're going to be upgrading that pretty soon. We've got a Twitter account, the Voxybox, or they can simply go to our. What else have we got? Social. This is actually. Can I just introduce you to our CEO, Sandira? She can probably put you better in contact with how to get in contact with us.
Yeah, Sandira, where do we find you?
Well, they can come to our website, voxybox.com, or Twitter @thevoxybox, or on Facebook, facebook.com/voxybox.
If you've enjoyed the virtual reality technologies here at TechCrunch Disrupt, then you need to speak to the man next to me, Mr. Mike Rothenberg from Rothenberg Ventures. He's the one who brought in, I believe it was 15 of these VR vendors into the show. Thank you very much for speaking with us. What did you do here? I mean, you're basically responsible for VR at TechCrunch.
Well, that's very generous of you. In reality, I think that there were a lot of folks that had a vision to have VR at TechCrunch this year, and in fact, we were approached by them. And these companies have been building VR for a very long time. Our role here is somewhat of as a coordinator, where we can let them know that we hope it'll be a good use of their time. So we can say, hey, it'd be great if you all banded together and showed mind-blowing demos together. So it's really the companies to thank for sure.
Mike, as a VC, you have a privileged position. You actually get to see the technology as it spans over multiple companies. Not just one set of technologies, not just one approach to VR, but many. And in that investment opportunity, you get to see trends, which is what we want to talk about. If we were to go back, say a year or 2 years, we would see the emergence of the current generation of VR or AR. What has changed between then and now?
VR has been actually an exciting concept for decades. And but what happened about a year ago, almost exactly, was that Samsung proved that at an affordable way that actually worked, you could actually have your own mobile phone be VR. They showed that with the Gear VR. And then since that point, there have been a lot of ideas and companies that have been starting to be built on top of that. And so in 2015, you now have dozens and dozens of venture-backed startups that are building all kinds of amazing content and hardware across the whole ecosystem, which is leading the way for a future where almost every industry will be affected, we hope in a very positive way, by virtual reality.
Let's talk about content, because that has been huge in 2015. Starting with CES, then NAB, we've seen the emergence of commercially available VR/3D content creation systems. How much of a changer has that been? Because I think, personally, I believe that forced VR from a curiosity to something where people were actually saying, wow, I can publish content right now and have it be next generation interesting.
Well, that was everything, because until you realize that you actually have VR accessible to you, it's really meaningless. And one of the things about VR is that, paradoxically, even as a visual medium, unless you actually are trying it and you're immersed in it, it doesn't hit it by watching something on TV and saying, well, they're watching VR, that's interesting. So you have to try it. And what happens with all of these headsets and things like Google Cardboard, which show you that you can actually use VR with your own phone, Samsung Gear VR, the Oculus Vive coming out next year, this puts millions and millions of headsets in people's hands where they can see how amazing it is. Everyone who tries it, who tries good VR, has their mind blown and can see where the future is. The problem is, right now it's not that easy to try it unless you actually have a headset.
If they've watched the rest of our special, they've already seen some of the companies that you brought in here. But I'm going to ask you to stare into your crystal ball right now and tell me, where are we going to see the growth? Because VR has grown to the point where it's not just a single thing anymore. There's content creation, there's content watching, there's content editing and modification, and there's an entire ecosystem of how we display that. Where do you see the next big breakout, the next big rush for gold in VR?
Well, there's really been no gold in VR at all of any kind. It's all hype and it's all at the very beginning. I think even though it took decades to get to this point, this might be inning one in a 9-inning or more game, and we were just in the preseason. So this is a very beginning. We think the first gold, so to speak, may happen from entertainment and gaming, because it's a very visual, deeply immersive thing, and the gaming community always understands this stuff first and can build things on top of it. And that's wildly interesting. But where your mind starts to really open up is when you say, okay, is it valuable beyond that? Well, think about tourism, and you can visit any place in the world without even leaving your home. Think about the fact that as it merges with AR, it actually disrupts hardware. You don't even need expensive monitors once you can actually just see things in front of your face. With real estate, and for example, architecture. Architects spend a lot of time and resources building amazing models. Why not walk through that before it exists and save yourself a lot of time and money?
Mike, thank you very much for speaking with us. Now, if they want to find out more about you and your portfolio of companies, where can they go?
RothenbergVentures.com.
Chances are that you've heard of TechCrunch Disrupt, but it's equally good that you don't exactly know where it came from or where it's going. That's why I'm speaking to Matt Burns from TechCrunch, who's going to explain why Disrupt became what it is today. Matt, why was there a need to create an event like Disrupt?
Oh, that's a great question. So at the time, TechCrunch Disrupt is actually the successor to TC40 and then TC50. TC40 was the first one in 2007. And we had amazing companies launch all these early shows. So we brought together the tech community underneath the TechCrunch brand to allow companies the bigger stage to launch their companies. So out of these TC40 and TC50 events, we had Mint launch, Fitbit, TrueCar, all these amazing companies that are now worth billions of dollars. But then in 2010, we started TechCrunch Disrupt in New York. And so it's been going since then, once a year in New York, once a year in San Francisco, and then we've had them in Beijing, Berlin, and London, and we're going back to London in December again.
Now, it's not just a show, because we have shows like CES or NAB. We've got plenty of opportunities for these companies to come out and show their wares, but there's a particular environment at Disrupt that really is a pressure cooker. It's a crucible. It's a way for startups to find out very quickly if they're going to survive. What do you owe that to? How do you create that kind of an environment?
Oh, wow, I'm glad it's working, because that's what we're aiming to do. We create that environment because that's what TechCrunch is, where we either make or break startups, and we bring them together here to allow them to launch on our stage and then also exhibit in this massive hall with other companies. So we have one large stage, we have one small stage behind of us, and then the rest is just an exhibit hall. And so that really what sets us apart from other conferences, in that we really bring things together and jam-pack everything into one venue.
I have to ask this because there's a lot of folks out there who will be future entrepreneurs, future businessmen and women. When you think of all the companies that have succeeded from TechCrunch and all those who have maybe faded away, is there something that you think the successful ones all have to have? Something that they demonstrate here at the show?
Yeah, you really have to be tenacious. You have to go for it. The companies that give up too early are not the ones that succeed. So you have to be solving a clear need, and then you have to keep on working at it.
All right, Matt, now here's the million-dollar question. As you look at the future of TechCrunch Disrupt, because this event has been evolving, changing its entire life, what do you see next year, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? Will you still be here in this environment, in this kind of a warehouse, looking at the latest and greatest of startups, or will it have to evolve along with the crowd of people that we see around us?
Well, this is the biggest Disrupt we've ever had. We have 750 exhibitors over 3 days, 5,000 attendees. We had 1,000 companies apply to be in Startup Battlefield, and it's absolutely massive now. But we like to keep it like this. We might evolve to a larger space, but we're going to try our hardest to keep the single stage aspect and the exhibit hall the core part of Disrupt. And I'm sure we're going to grow, and hopefully more people come, but it's going to maintain this scrappy attitude.
From the startup battlefield to the battle of VR booths, it's tempting to think of Disrupt as just Darwinism for companies, sort of an economic pressure cooker where only the strong will survive. But it's really more than that. This collection of inventors and money people, of the people who know business and the people who know passion, is really where you're going to find the next great idea, the next bit of innovation, the next thing that gets elevated to the status of a Google or a Facebook or a Microsoft. I'm Father Robert Ballecer saying goodbye from San Francisco and saying until next time at TechCrunch Disrupt.